Imagine the Tudor dynasty collapsing overnight, London in flames, rebels storming the gates, the royal standard torn down as a new dynasty rises from the ashes. What becomes of Henry VIII? Of Anne Boleyn? Of England itself? To understand this alternate history, we need to define what we mean by a massive rebellion, something far beyond the pilgrimage of grace. This isn't a scattered uprising or a regional protest. This is a movement that unites thousands across England with a single purpose, guided by cohesive leadership, strategic planning, and the one thing most rebellions lacked in Tudor England: coordination. And the Tudors, despite their power, were uniquely vulnerable. England in the 1530s stood on shaky ground. Religious chaos tore communities apart as Henry VIII shattered centuries of Catholic tradition. Taxation and new economic pressures hit both commoners and nobles. Northern England simmered with resentment toward the southern-based court. And across the realm, powerful noble families despised Henry's aggressive centralization and feared losing ancient privileges. Combine these elements, and you get a kingdom ready to burn. In this video, you'll see how everything changes when that fire finally ignites. This is not just a rebellion. It's a total rewriting of English history. And so, the rebellion begins, not as a protest, but as a revolution. England in the 1530s is already a nation on the edge. In the north, resentment simmers like a boiling cauldron. Heavy taxation, meant to fund Henry VIII's wars, palaces, and political ambitions, crushes rural communities. Farming families already strained by poor harvests now face an even deeper threat: enclosure. Lands once common to all are fenced off for private profit, pushing thousands into poverty and displacement. Urban workers feel the pressure too. Prices rise faster than wages, and basic food like bread becomes harder to afford. London, York, and Norwich all feel the sting of inflation and instability. Then comes the most explosive disruption of all: the closure of the monasteries. These institutions weren't just spiritual centers. They were hospitals, employers, poorhouses, and places of refuge. With their destruction, communities lose their only safety nets, plunging the vulnerable into chaos. Meanwhile, the nobility seethe as Henry sidelines them. Many believe the king is morphing into a tyrant, stripping ancient rights and concentrating power entirely in his hands. Bitterness grows, and that bitterness becomes the foundation of something far larger. Religion adds fuel to the fire. Henry's break with Rome tears at the spiritual fabric of the kingdom. Devout Catholics fear England has been placed under divine wrath. Monks and clergy find themselves humiliated or homeless. Ordinary people don't know what to believe anymore. Catholic traditions one year, condemn the next. Even the reformers push changes too rapidly for much of the population to accept, creating a nation spiritually terrified and utterly divided. Into this chaos emerges a unifying figure. Imagine a powerful northern noble, someone like Henry Percy, Earl of Northumberland, stepping forward. A man with deep roots, military respect, and the legitimacy needed to challenge a king. At his side stands a fired-up monk or priest, giving moral justification to the rebellion and framing it as a holy duty. Together, they bridge the gap between nobles, monks, dispossessed farmers, and even sympathetic southern gentry. For the first time, these groups unite with a single voice and a single goal. The uprising explodes into action. York falls almost immediately. Norwich is taken soon after. Henry, arrogant and dismissive, underestimates the movement and sends scattered forces to deal with it. But the royal army is poorly coordinated, badly supplied, and demoralized. The rebels crush them in a dramatic, overwhelming victory. And now, for the first time since the Wars of the Roses, London looks vulnerable. The rebels move faster than anyone in the Tudor court expects. With major nobles and northern commanders lending them horses, supplies, and fortified routes, their armies sweep south with astonishing speed. By the time Tudor scouts report their approach, the rebels are already at the northern edges of the capital. London erupts into panic. The entire Tudor system depends on centralized control, orders from the king, loyalty enforced by fear, and a court that dominates the political machine. But now, faced with tens of thousands of armed rebels marching toward the city, that control evaporates. Merchants hide their wealth. Commoners whisper about divine judgment. And most dangerously, the nobles inside Henry VIII's own court begin to defect. Many have long resented the king's tyranny. Now they see a chance not only to survive but to shape the future. London holds its breath. Henry VIII refuses to flee. Outraged at the very idea of abandoning his capital, he tries to rally the city. He delivers fiery speeches, invokes the glory of kingship, and condemns the rebels as traitors to God and England. He even attempts a symbolic show of strength, appearing in armor, attending mass publicly, and demanding troops assemble at Whitehall. But symbolism cannot replace loyalty. The king simply doesn't have enough dependable soldiers left. The nobility waver, the commoners are terrified, and the royal army is fractured beyond repair. Henry's defiance becomes tragic instead of inspiring, and the rebel banners continue to approach. Inside the palace, chaos spreads, and Boleyn and the Seymours, both political lightning rods, fear execution if rebels storm the capital. Courtiers scramble to choose the winning side. Some quietly slip out of London. Others send secret messages to the rebel command. Within days, Henry's council begins to crumble. Entire factions defect. Then comes the moment that seals the regime's fate. The rebel leadership issues a formal proclamation. It declares, the end of Henry VIII's tyrannical rule, the restoration of papal authority, the return of the monasteries, a revival of traditional, noble-guided governance. The message spreads through London like wildfire. The people listen. And many agree. Henry VIII is finally cornered, isolated, abandoned, and surrounded. Just as Richard II once was, he is taken prisoner by rebels who claim to act in the name of the English nation. He is forced to abdicate. The Tudor crown is declared forfeited. The dynasty ends with a document, not a battlefield death. And the rebellion transforms from a revolt into a revolution. And with the Tudor crown shattered, who rules next? With Henry VIII forced to abdicate and the Tudor dynasty shattered, the victorious rebels face an immediate, dangerous question. Who will rule England now? Several factions quickly push their preferred candidates. Some look to the surviving Plantagenet remnants, especially the Pole family. Reginald Pole, with his royal Yorkist blood and his deep connections in Rome, represents a symbolic return to the old order before the Tudors seized power. Others insist the throne should go to a major northern noble, someone who fought alongside the rebellion from its first days. A Percy, a Neville, or even a Howard with the military prestige to stabilize the kingdom. And then there are those who prefer a safer, more controllable option. A compliant, church-aligned monarch who would restore Catholicism while keeping noble influence at its peak. Whichever path they choose, England is about to become a very different country from the one Henry tried to create. Almost immediately, the new regime restores Catholicism. England re-enters the Roman fold, and word of this reconciliation sends shockwaves through Europe. The Pope celebrates England's return as if a prodigal nation has come home. Monasteries reopen, lands seized by Henry are handed back, and the Bible returns exclusively to Latin. Cromwell's entire administrative and religious revolution, one that reshaped English law, church governance, and bureaucracy, is dismantled piece by piece. Diplomatic ties with France and the Holy Roman Empire thaw as England reintegrates into the Catholic world. The contrast is stark. This is the very England Henry VIII fought tirelessly to prevent. Government transforms just as dramatically. The nobility, who carried the rebellion on their shoulders, now enjoy renewed strength and autonomy. Royal authority is intentionally limited. No more sweeping decrees, no more centralization. Parliament, which Henry had relied on more and more, is weakened or reshaped to ensure noble dominance. England shifts backward toward a semi-feudal structure, with regional lords wielding significant local power. The kingdom becomes less centralized, slower to act, and more aristocratic in its character. In many ways, England steps back into an older, more medieval rhythm of governance. To secure its place in Europe, the new monarch quickly turns to marriage diplomacy. Catholic alliances become essential, and England begins courting the great houses of the continent. Whether through the Habsburgs or the French Valois line, the kingdom re-enters European politics not as a defiant outsider, but as a committed Catholic power once more. The island binds itself to the continent again, reshaping its destiny. But what becomes of Henry's children, the future icons of England? Mary Tudor instantly becomes the most valuable Tudor in the eyes of the new regime. The rebels need symbols, figures who can legitimize their revolution while calming a frightened population, and Mary is perfect. She is Henry's eldest child, openly and devoutly Catholic, and already loved by traditionalists. They present her publicly as proof that England has been restored to the true faith. But while Mary is elevated in ceremony and treated with immense respect, she is never given true political power. Instead, she becomes a tool of diplomacy. The new rulers arrange a prestigious Catholic marriage for her, perhaps to a Habsburg archduke, a Portuguese prince, or a noble from Savoy, to anchor England firmly within the Catholic world. Mary becomes a celebrated figure, yes, but ultimately a controlled one, a diplomatic asset, not a sovereign. Elizabeth Tudor, however, faces a completely different fate. Under a fully restored Catholic system, she is once again illegitimate. Her parents' marriage is regarded as invalid, her mother condemned, and Elizabeth herself seen as a dangerous symbol of the Tudor past. The new regime cannot afford the risk she represents. To keep her from becoming a rallying point for future uprisings, the rebels likely choose one of two paths. The first possibility is lifelong imprisonment, isolated, guarded, and neutralized, much like Mary Queen of Scots would later be treated. The second is exile to a foreign court, where she can be watched and kept away from English politics. In either case, she never returns to public life. Without her ascent to the throne, history loses the Elizabethan age entirely. No great navy, no golden age, no cultural explosion under her name. Edward VI's fate is even more precarious. As the son of a king the rebels label a heretic and a mother associated with Protestant reform, he embodies everything the new Catholic order seeks to suppress. Within England, he has no future. The regime might attempt to hide him, quietly remove him from the line of succession, or even place him in religious custody. But abroad, Protestant networks would see him differently. Reformers in Germany, the Low Countries, or Switzerland might attempt to rescue him and shape him into a symbolic Protestant figurehead. Yet without a Protestant England behind him, Edward's entire destiny collapses. His brief historical reign, already fragile, never occurs in this timeline. The Tudor bloodline technically survives, but its political power is erased. The new rulers rewrite England's story. Henry becomes a tyrant who plunged the kingdom into chaos, and Boleyn a seductress who led England astray, and Elizabeth an illegitimate pretender. The new dynasty elevates its own ancestors as the rightful saviors of England. Without the Tudors, England's entire destiny changes, forever. With England fully restored to Catholicism, the European balance of power changes almost overnight. The Reformation, for decades gaining momentum across Northern Europe, loses one of its most crucial potential allies. Without an Anglican church, without Henry's break from Rome, the Protestant world becomes smaller, more isolated, and far more vulnerable. Lutheran states in Germany can no longer count on English support. Calvinists in Switzerland, France, and the Low Countries find themselves surrounded by Catholic powers with no major Protestant kingdom to lean on. The Reformation still exists, but it spreads more slowly, with less confidence, and with far fewer resources. England's return to Rome cuts the legs out from under the entire Protestant movement. Across Europe, reactions are immediate. Spain celebrates. Instead of a heretical island across the Channel, it now gains a powerful Catholic partner, one that can strengthen Habsburg influence, not undermine it. Trade, military cooperation, and diplomatic ties all deepen. For the first time in generations, England and Spain are not rivals but allies. France, however, is alarmed. With England, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire all Catholic and potentially united, France finds itself geographically squeezed and politically isolated. The kingdom must rethink every strategic assumption it has made since the 100 Years' War. The ripple effects on warfare and alliances are enormous. The long, bitter Anglo-Spanish rivalry never develops. The idea of a Spanish armada sailing to overthrow a Protestant England becomes unnecessary or takes a radically different form, perhaps with England even assisting Spain in suppressing Protestant rebels elsewhere. Instead of clashing with the Habsburgs, England may stand beside them, fighting in Catholic coalitions against France or supporting imperial campaigns against Protestant states in Germany or the Low Countries. England becomes a continental power again, not an isolated naval empire. The marriage networks of Europe also transform. Without Elizabeth's refusal to marry, without the drama of her suitors, England binds itself firmly to Catholic dynasties. Royal marriages link England to the Habsburgs, the French Valois, or powerful Italian houses. Scotland, lacking the pressure of a Protestant England to its south, leans even more strongly toward Catholic France. Ireland, instead of becoming the center of English suppression, remains confidently Catholic, protected and supported by the new regime in London. Every alliance shifts. Every rivalry changes. The entire map of Europe is rewritten from the ground up. And beyond Europe, the biggest transformation of all. Without the Tudors' dominance and without Elizabeth's reign, the cultural flowering known as the Elizabethan Golden Age never occurs. The royal court fails to become a hub of artistic patronage, leaving playwrights, poets, and musicians without the support that would have elevated them to fame. Shakespeare, Marlowe, and their contemporaries exist in a different world, perhaps writing for regional audiences or under more constrained circumstances, but their impact is muted, and their works may never reach the global legacy we know today. Explorers like Francis Drake or John Hawkins, driven by ambition and royal backing, never embark on their legendary voyages. England misses out on circumnavigations, privateering, and the beginnings of global maritime adventure. The early sparks of naval innovation, inspired by necessity and rivalry with Spain, never ignite. Literature, culture, and the arts develop differently, likely under slower, more localized influences rather than in the crucible of a globalizing nation. The absence of Tudor ambition also upends England's colonial trajectory. Without a monarch invested in overseas expansion, English colonization slows dramatically. Early settlements in North America may never occur, or are delayed by decades, giving Spain and Portugal free rein to expand their empires unchallenged. The 13 colonies as we know them may never exist. England's foothold in the New World is minimal, leaving continental powers to dominate trade, resources, and settlement patterns across the Americas for generations. the geopolitical map shifts entirely, with consequences that ripple into the modern era. England's naval power, the backbone of its later empire, never develops in the same way. With no urgent need to challenge Spain or protect far-flung colonies, the country becomes inward-focused. Shipbuilding innovations and strategic maritime thinking, which historically grew under pressure from foreign rivals, emerge slowly or not at all. The Royal Navy may eventually grow, but it never achieves the early dominance in the Atlantic that historically allowed England to project power worldwide. Finally, the global influence of the English language is drastically reduced. Without a powerful empire, English remains largely regional. Shakespeare's works, already limited by lack of patronage, cannot achieve international reach. French or Spanish, backed by thriving colonial and imperial networks, rise as the dominant global lingua franca. Trade, diplomacy, and culture around the world flow through these languages instead of English, reshaping communication, literature, and international influence for centuries. So what does this alternate England truly become? The consequences of a single, massive rebellion against the Tudors ripple across centuries. The dynasty that defined England for generations ends abruptly, replaced by a new Catholic regime that restores monasteries, strengthens the nobility, and aligns the kingdom firmly with Rome. England transforms into a conservative, noble-led society, cautious, hierarchical, and deeply entwined with European Catholic power. Across the continent, Protestantism suffers a devastating setback. Without England as a counterweight, Lutheran and Calvinist movements struggle to gain momentum, isolated from crucial support. Meanwhile, English culture, the literature, the theater, the scientific curiosity fueled by Elizabethan patronage, loses its global reach. The empire that might have risen from the ambitions of Drake, Hawkins, and the early navigators never fully emerges. Trade, colonies, and naval dominance are ceded to Spain, Portugal, and France. The future 13 colonies, English settlements in the Americas, and even the global influence of the English language are drastically altered or erased entirely. Instead of becoming a global superpower, England settles into the role of a respected, traditional European Catholic monarchy, stable and honorable, yet never dominant on the world stage. A single rebellion, if unified, well-led, and well-timed, could have rewritten not only England's destiny, but the entire world's. It reshapes politics, religion, culture, and even the language through which history is recorded and communicated. It's a stark reminder that history is fragile, and that one victory or defeat can reshape everything.